Welcome to News Unboringed, the show where we take the boring out of the news but not the depression, and we add in cringe. Well, first off, it's of course the day of the mass walkout and mass strike. You've got bus drivers, you've probably got like train drivers, you've got bloody teachers, the NHS, like the whole ecosystem that the modern industrial world runs on has almost been completely silenced in a way. And honestly, it's just sad that it has to go like that. But at the same time, we might even have to do more. Especially with these new legislations trying to prevent the workers' rights to strike, when the main right of a worker is to withdraw their labour at any time. One of the main rights of the worker. One of the most fundamental rights of the worker. And they're trying to take that away. Honestly, they're just crazy. They want us to just be slaved. The government should fear us. We should not fear our government. Because the point of the government is to help us. Not just to control us. That's part of the job as well. But it's not just controlling. But according to the Tories, it is. And it's just sad that it's had to get there. A former member of Rishi Sunak's cabinet, Nadeem Suhawi, has probably been bloody everywhere over simply using an offshore account, not paying up taxes, and trying to silence people who even mention that he refused to pay taxes. He's making it glaringly obvious that he did not pay those taxes, and if he wasn't a Conservative, he'd be in prison right now. He'd so easily be in prison. So why isn't he? That is exactly where he belongs. So let's hope we will never see him in politics again. And let's hope even more of them will be exposed for having these offshore accounts, for not paying taxes correctly. And we'll fish out the shit fish out of the sea. Because it's shocking, really, that a number of Tory officials, a number of probably many political parties, if not all of them, in the cabinet have at least someone, or have at least a group of people who are doing this and getting away with it. So let's just pray more people are caught like Nadeem Suhawi, and let's pray we will at least never see him in a cabinet again. But he belongs in prison. Half a million are striking today. Over pay, over conditions, over the government not caring, over the 13 years of Tory austerity causing so much shite. And the Tories are confronting Hunt over, well, his refusal to reduce taxes. For the rich, that is, I presume. They don't give a fuck about us. In other news, a 4-year-old girl was killed after being attacked by a dog. They're adorable until they're not. Dogs, aren't they? And someone, just to get on the property ladder, is living on a boat because she can't afford a mortgage. It's sad, but you do you. And this Alec Baldwin story gets more shocking when he thought it was just a trainee gun that didn't actually fire any bullets. It was a real gun. And he shot and killed the producer of a film he was in. But during the gun training for the film, Rust, he was just on his phone. How easily it could have been prevented. Would you not at least check your guns? to make sure, they might not kill a director. Honestly, Alec Baldwin. And he's now, of course, been charged over involuntary manslaughter and because of all this. And yeah, honestly, absolutely shocking. Don't know what I was thinking. No. Well, sort of already said that. And what I was saying earlier about being alienated by football, I mean all the prices, the hundreds of millions they splash out for 20-year-olds. The amount of money they spend, it feels so much more like a monopoly. It's not even a game anymore, it's just a business. It doesn't quite feel the same. That's why we go to lower league, because for one, we can't bloody afford to go to Prem games, and it feels sort of like a community anyway. Can actually talk to the players. Sometimes they talk to members of the crowd, and it's more local. As I said, it has a community feel in it. Feels a lot more relaxed. It feels slightly less like a business. And yeah. In other news, there was an ambulance crash when an ambulance overturned after it was involved with a collision with a bus. Oh, that's just my own. And off they go. No! Oh, God, here's one. No. No! Sorry about that, that was just my... Dogs. But yeah, an ambulance overturned after it was involved in a collision with a bus. No arrests have been made, and no one was injured. But yeah, with the ambulance shortage, that's the last thing they need. And a nursery school has had to apologise to a pupil who was discriminated against. But the mother of the girl who was discriminated against, who had Down syndrome, said his apology will never be enough. It's 2023, and there are 3-year-old, 4-year-old kids being discriminated against, told they have to start 50 minutes later, and having her being treated less favourably when she's in the bloody building. It's 2023, and people with Down syndrome are still discriminated against. One day we'll get over this barrier and just treat people like people. Down syndrome, it's not fun to have, obviously, because of the things it causes you and a number of other factors, such as being discriminated against. And obviously there's things that, with Down syndrome, make it more difficult, but you can still live a normal life. You can still befriend children. You get taught to be discriminative. You don't get born discriminative. There's so many stories about this, about like babies just seeing a black person and just thinking, that's just like me. He's just like me. Why? Why is this like all different for you? It's just taught, and honestly, surely we can get past the barriers of teaching them to be discriminative by showing them what discrimination is to people with Down syndrome and a number of other conditions, like I said, racism and a number of other things. It's taught, and surely it would at least help them not to be discriminative if you didn't discriminate against someone with Down syndrome yourself. It's 2023. Get a grip. Oscars organisers have decided British actress Andrea Riseborough can keep her nomination, but said tactics in her film's campaign caused concern for whatever reason. Who cares, anyway? And the Eurovision build-up begins as we've been handed over it. We're from Liverpool. And homelessness rises to the highest level on record. Again, sad. Because of people not spending, I suppose. Like, I get the 2008 financial crash. Obviously, that caused changes in policy, but that doesn't mean you should keep it, especially as harsh as the Tories have done it. I don't know whether this is in the world. It says the stories from Scotland, so in just Scotland, or in the entirety of the UK. But however, if you gave them a bit more help, maybe, just maybe, especially after the economy sort of improved again, maybe, just maybe, there would be less homeless people. A buyer has backed out of buying a Mr. Blobby suit for 62 grand. Who cares? And Russia is learning Ukraine's tactics. And their threat is growing. And frontline troops are starting to fear them. Let's just hope they learn faster and are able to keep up. 100 people have been confirmed dead in a marathon after a mosque suicide bombing, which targeted policemen in the city of Peshawar in Pakistan. There's always a bunch of terroristic things that happen year after year, month after month, and yeah, it's just sad, of course, we all know that. And with any luck, there'll be less and less and less in the future. But when there's so many extremist terrorist groups around the Middle East, that's not being racist, that's just fact. There's a lot of terrorist groups and extremist groups. If you're around them a lot, you might just start to believe them. That's how brainwashing works. There's probably been a lot of brainwashing done by groups like, say, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and those are the main cause of all these suicide bombings. But one last thing I want to say. Everyone to live 15 minutes under green space or water in England are the plans. The plans that will never be materialised because the Tories can't be arsed spending the money that would probably be required, nor do they actually really care. Alright, but what I want to say, we still can't forget about what is going on in Iran. The dictatorship and the harsh punishments for those who were deemed to protest. Some of them aren't even protesting. A group of dancers were sentenced to 10 years, even though their dancing had nothing to do with protests. They just flipped it around and made it so it did look like they were protesting. We know how dictatorship work. That's just a primary example, and we can't forget about them who are suffering in Iran. And we do need to still be doing a lot more. And with any luck, they might be given more freedoms. Thank you. Good night. However you get your news, make sure it's not boring. Can't do much about how depressing it is, though.